Good morning. Great to be together again today. And I just want to thank you for your faithfulness. Of you that are members of our church, man, of our people, been faithful. And I am very thankful for the privilege of being a pastor. I sit and think about that I'm saved. This morning I was reading my Bible and it just was, it just hit me again, the wonder that the God of the universe listens to me, knows who I am, cares about me, has an interest in making me better, and has eternal plans for me, already has a place reserved for me in heaven, and it just goes on and on and on. The wonder of Christianity is beyond description. And of course, I talk about patriotic things and American things on occasion, and I love our country, and I'm very concerned about the mess that our nation is in. And but the answer is righteousness. The answer is not a better guy in the White House. Now, God will put the guy in the White House we need, but I think we need to seek God. And as I mentioned in another one of my lessons, John Adams said that it was private morality that was the prerequisite for public morality. If we want the nation to be a cleaner, better place, got to start in our homes. And that's why the internet, television, social media, all the filth and all the garbage, and not just moral filth, it's godless filth, it's slanderous filth. You look at the Bible and you read about the word covetous and read about slanderer, people that divide friends, false accusations. Those things are all vile in the eyes of God. Proverbs 6, God hates he that hands that shed innocent blood, but he hates he that soweth discord among the brethren. I mean, God puts a murderer and a person who divides friends in the same category. He hates it. And anyway, we need to get some morality back in America and labor to get it. Here's just a couple of thoughts. Here's just a note from Pennsylvania. A Pennsylvania family. Twas the Christmas season. The Weevil family of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, put up a Christmas display at their home, complete with a nativity scene adorned by the name Jesus. And according to Mark Weevil, as part of our Christmas decorations, we would display the name Jesus to point out to everyone that we in this family believe that the reason for this season is to celebrate the birth of Jesus. Not so fast, said the homeowners association. It directed them to remove the display because it was a sign, not a decoration. Although many neighbors supported the Weevils, the association said that an unnamed neighbor had complained that the display was offensive. And what a tragic story. And these kind of stories go on all across America. And we are... When I don't care what an attorney says, I don't care what somebody twisting the law can make something look like. If good sense would prevail, we would have a cleaner country. We would have a better country. There should be, I heard years ago of a guy who brought one of these lawsuits to court and one of these twisting the laws to accomplish what he wanted. And the judge threw him out of the court, said, we're not going to hear that, and don't you bring this up again. And if I see you in this courtroom again doing this to the attorney, he said, I'll find a way to get you so you don't practice law. And I don't know what all the story was, but that's good sense. There are things you and I know are right, things you and I know are wrong, things that are, and I don't care if you can find some rule to justify. You might be able to find even some obscure Bible verse to somehow justify it. Judas went and hung himself, so everybody with the name of Judas should go hang themselves. You could find something to validate just about any kind of corrupt behavior, and we can't be that way. The hope of a nation is righteousness, doing the right thing, not doing the thing that's legal, not doing the thing that you can get away with, but doing the right thing. And most of us, we know, and if the law left Joe Citizen and Jane Citizen to solve a lot of their problems, we'd have fewer people in prison and more people in the cemetery. And again, I'm for keeping the law, but our the world system, this present evil world, Paul called it in the book of Galatians, that the whole system is evil. Not the dirt, not the trees, the system, what makes this world function. And the only hope of this dark world is the light of the Word of God and the light of Jesus Christ. Now, this morning, I'm just going to take a minute or two and talk a little bit about just some thoughts on the home. And I bounce around all over the place with things, but I want to read a verse in Proverbs 22, verse 6, familiar to most people. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he'll not depart from it. Now, let me explain. I'm not going to try and do anything but say it. Train up a child. That's your job as parents. That's my job as former parents. It was my job. That verse doesn't say put your kids in a Christian school. Now, I do think we should have our kids in a Christian school. That verse doesn't say have your kids in Sunday school and church 3 times a week. Although I do think your kids ought to all be, the whole family ought to be in Sunday school. The whole family ought to be in church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. I'm for that. But that's not what that verse says. That verse says train up a child. Train up a child. That's the obligation. And there's a whole lot of obligations there in Proverbs that I won't get into right now. I'm thinking about how to do it because we're in such a corrupt world. You can get in trouble just reading the Bible. And but we're going to keep reading it and teaching it. We're just not going to put it always on the internet. But in Ephesians, we've got in Ephesians chapter 6, another very simple, clear admonition. In Ephesians 6:4, and you fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. I am to bring my children up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. That command there isn't to put my kids under someone else's authority and have them bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. That says it's my job as a parent. And it's a tragic thing that so many parents feel like they've got their kids in church, they got them in a Christian school, they'll be okay. You're to train them. That's your obligation. I love our school, but our school can't be what a mom and dad is supposed to be. That is a unique relationship. That is a unique responsibility, and I believe unique gifts. I think every mother has been given unique gifts to meet the need of that child, and every father has been given unique gifts to meet the need of that child. And that's why divorce is so bad, because some kid's not going to get what they need. A whole lot of things wrong with divorce, and not divorced people. We love them. Half our churches face divorce, I would have guessed. Not the young people who grew up here, but so many come from around. And it's just a reality. Our culture is hard on homes. People talk about divorce, and I think it's amazing anybody can stay married. We're all pretty bad. But the young people who grew up here in our church over the last 40 years, divorces are mighty few. And so if kids are taught right, and if they're in the right environment, and they're careful who they marry, we keep increasing the odds for a successful marriage. But the point of this is, mom has unique gifts, dad has unique gifts, especially designed to train that child. And I was not given gifts to train your child, not like a parent. I may have my own gifts as a pastor to lead and do different things, and maybe a teacher, a coach. People are going to help encourage and love the kids and all, but they'll never, ever, ever replace mom and dad. Can't be done. And so, the devil, he works nonstop to destroy our homes. And one of the reasons is because it's the parents who are gifted to be able to train up a child. Back over in Proverbs, we read, train a child in the way he should go. And here in Ephesians, you fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. And we need to understand that there's some enemies. Let me just quickly mention this. We've got these kids, and they have got an enemy 24 hours a day after them. He's been ruining lives for 6,000 years. And so Satan, he's a master at studying people. And from the time that child is born, he's been studying weaknesses and tendencies and habits and areas of that are maybe more fragile in one person than another. And he's studied those things. And so one of our enemies is the devil. I'll tell you, the other enemy is our flesh. Look, if you've raised children, you know that we're naturally bad. And it might be an unorganized person. It might be a person who's given to appetite. It might be a person who's always fearful and ultra sensitive. Um, then you've got our sinful nature, passions and lusts and I want more and a self-pity and how come I don't get what they got and my brother got this, how come I don't have it? That's us. That's not the devil. That's my old flesh. And I carry this 220 plus pounds of flesh around with me, and my flesh has got to be kept in subjection. Paul said in 1 Corinthians 9, verse 27, I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest by any means when I've preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. And that's not talking about salvation, it's talking about usefulness. That you let your passions rule and let your flesh get in charge. God's going to set you over there and say, I can't use you. Like Samson, he used Samson and used Samson. Finally, Samson had messed up so much, God said, I can't use you anymore. King Saul used him. Finally, God said, I can't use you, King Saul. And he put him aside. And he does that. So number one, our children have got a satanic enemy. Number two, our flesh is our enemy. Just this old flesh. I want to be comfortable. I want to sleep in. I don't want to do hard things. If math is hard, I don't want to do math. If English is hard, I don't want to do that. I don't want to read a book. I want to listen to a book. I don't want to eat my vegetables. I don't want to eat my fruit. I want to eat candy. I want to watch a screen. I want to watch cartoons. I want to whatever. Our old flesh. Now that's our children, their flesh. I heard people talk about kids are by nature good. Oh, it's stupid. Kids are by nature bad. You don't have to teach a little child to be selfish. Kids are selfish all on their own. You got to teach them to do right. Laziness runs rampant in the untrained child. Cheating, it's the most natural thing in the world for that untrained child. To be mean. Many a child has got a mean streak in him. Many a child's got a lazy streak in him. We all have got our flesh. So, first of all, this kid's got the devil as an enemy. Secondly, they're their own enemy. They've got flesh. And when they get saved, they still got their flesh. When I got saved, there's a new man inside me, but I've got that old man inside me too. That old flesh is there. But then third, the world is our enemy. This world that puts, why don't you live in a beautiful house like this? And how come you don't have a Ferrari and a picture perfect girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever? And the world pounds us, and you're a nobody if you're not a good athlete. And if you're over a size 3 girls, there's no hope for you. No one's going to like you. And this world, just the stuff of this world hammers on us. And you're on the second string instead of the first string. I had one of our very, very trustworthy young men come to me one day, and the sibling, the brother, was a very good athlete. He was a decent athlete, but not exceptional. And somebody came up to him at the church and said, how come you're not a good athlete like your brother? Now, what kind of thing is that to say to a teenager struggling to get their self-esteem and their identity and figure out where they fit in this life? What stupid adult says something like that? Any of us, we can all. Have you not said something stupid? And we do. And I walked that teenager through that situation and others, and they're today married, serving God in the ministry. Great young people. But understand, we've got a satanic enemy, we've got a flesh enemy, but the world, the Bible talks about the world, the flesh, and the devil. This world is just corrupt, and it'll push things on you. We've got volcanoes, earthquakes, cancer, and COVID, and we got stupid governments. We can throw that. I don't know if the government we should throw under the devil or throw it under the world, but this world system it's a mess, and it's our enemy, and it's after our kids. And your kids are gonna go out into this world, and it's money issues, and it's the pressures of life, and pressures of health, and pressures of relationships, and all these things. And don't think kindergartners don't face pressures. And the devil's after our kindergartners, guarantee you that. So dads and moms, we're to train up a child. That's our job. We're not to push that job off on anybody else. Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. That's our job. And you can't work 80 hours a week and ignore your child and trust the school and the church to train your child. I don't care how good a church you go to. I don't care how good a school your kids are in. Mom and dad, you cannot shirk your responsibility without there being a price tag. And I just want to encourage you today, with all of our heart, let's determine by the grace of God, we're going to seek to bring our children up and teach them right from wrong. Teach them to deny themselves, to deny their flesh, to teach them the spiritual ways to act, to teach them about satanic temptations that get thrown at them, to teach them about the pressures the world puts on them. And I think of two of our young men, brothers. One is a big hulk of a kid, and he could have been playing college football probably if he wanted to, and he's got a good job and a Bible college student. And his brother, he's just not, I don't know, half the size, very gifted with music and gifted with academics, and both of them are personality plus, and they're just great young men. But this is different as night and day. And to me, I think there doesn't need to be any, I wish I had more of what you had, because they're both perfect. I don't know what they feel. They've never said anything. But spiritually, God made them what they are. And so I'm good with numbers, and you're good with words. And so I'm good with music, and you've got good people skills. God makes us. And we've got to train our children to be what God made them to be. And don't let the devil beat those kids up. But just saying, you need to teach your kids what the word no means. You need to teach your kids to be in subjection to their parents. You need to teach your children to work hard when they want to be lazy. I've told the story, but I don't know, one of my kids, we'd be working in the yard, and they could be playing a game, doing whatever, and they'd be fine. Play. All right, we need to go get a job. And as soon as the job gets started, they got to use the bathroom. And I just said, no, you're not. I don't know if it happened a couple of times or whatever, but it seemed like whenever we had to go work, they had to use the bathroom. So I just said, no, you don't. When the job's done, you can go to the bathroom. But I really need to go. Yeah, well, we better get this job done quick, because you're not leaving. And by that time, I had taught them. They didn't throw fits, and they did what they were told, and they didn't cry and whine, because they weren't going to get their way anyway. You get nothing crying and whining, and nothing from my wife and I for crying and whining, but what you don't want. And what's funny? Kids quit needing to go to the bathroom while we work. Why? Because they knew we have jobs to do. That's training. Train up a child. Train up a child. Bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Well, I want to encourage you. It's our job, parents. It's our job. And grandparents, you back mom and dad. Yeah, it's not our job as grandparents to train our children. That's the parents' job. But it is my job to back them. And if parents wouldn't want them doing it, then they're not going to do it when I'm there. If parents wouldn't want them watching this or playing this or reading that, no way, you're not doing that. If I know parents have got a 20-minute rule on video games, you're playing 20 minutes and not a minute more. Some kids could read all day long, and so parents put a rule. You can only read after this is done or after that's done. You can only read 2 hours, whatever. I'm going to back them, because I'm going to be a help to my children, training their children in the way they should go. Let's be on the same team, and let's realize it's our job. Now, yes, school, Christian school, yes, private school, yes, good church, Sunday school, youth activities, all of that. But train up a child. That's our job.